What's up, my name is Samuel Leeds, I'm a property investor, and about an hour ago I posted on Twitter and said I'm going to be filming for the next few hours. If you have a property question, please tweet and I will answer on this video. So I've already had like loads of questions. So here's what's going to happen right now. I am going to answer all of the property questions that have come up, but if you have a question, or if as I'm answering you get like a question off a question and you want me to answer, then just comment below in this video and then I'll do my best to do another video next week and answer your questions. But this week, what have we got? What's coming? What's going on? Mr. Salim says, when doing rent-to-rent or rent-to-serviced accommodation deals, what kind of things do we need to be sure of? Like contracts, fire doors, what kind of mortgage the landlord is on? Okay, great question. So there's a lot of things, but the most important thing when doing a rent-to-rent deal is you need to get the landlord on side or the owner on side. Once the owner's on side, it's just so much easier. Sometimes people, they'll look at a deal or they'll find a deal on Rightmove or on Gumtree or on Spare Room, and then they'll think this could be a good rent-to-rent opportunity, and they'll do so much research and due diligence on the area, on the house, on the streets. Even if it turns out to be the perfect deal, they'll phone the landlord or the owner, and then just to be told, oh no, not interested, no thanks. So what's the point of working out all the XYZ before you've even walked the ABC? And what does the ABC look like when doing a rent-to-rent deal? The ABC looks like asking a landlord, hey, would you be interested in receiving a guaranteed rent from me? This is the kind of amount I'd be able to pay, and then I'm going to rent it out, and I'll keep the difference. But it means you've got an easy life, and I can take care of the property. If the landlord's like, that sounds really interesting, yeah, I could do that. Then you want to start looking into, okay, now he's on side, now they're on side, what do you need to look at? So, and it depends on the property. So of course, if you're renting it out and you're changing the use of the property, so if it's currently a buy-to-let and you're changing it to a HMO or a serviced accommodation, the mortgage on the house, if there is one, is going to need to be fit for purpose. So that's one thing you need to watch for. Another one is, if you're changing the use, if it's just a single let house and you're turning it into a HMO, then you need to make sure that the property, it's compliant. So how do you find that out? A lot of this stuff you can find out on Google. So if it's a single let and you're turning it into a HMO in Birmingham, just Google Birmingham HMO rules, and you'll be able to see on the council website, what are the rules? Does there need to be fire doors? How big do the rooms need to be? I guess I could give you all of the rules in every city to do with HMOs, serviced accommodation, but the very first thing is just pick up the phone, find a landlord that's open to doing business and wants a hands-off approach where you'll be able to turn the property from an average producing rental property to a super rent. And once you've got the landlord on side, that's when you're going to start figuring out all this stuff by going on the correct council websites. Serviced accommodation, there's not so much legislation around that. If you're in London, there's a 90-day rule, which you need to watch out for. So I guess that's in simple forms. Unless I was doing a whole video about it, Mr. Salim, I hope that's helped answer your question as the things you need to look for with rent-to-rent. What else have we got? Gino Sco. Hey Samuel, thanks for the opportunity. When calculating the return on investment, should I use interest only or repayment to get return on investment of over 20% or over? Okay, the answer to that is, when you're working out the return on investment, you're just going to work it out based on what type of mortgage you're going to get. Personally, I would always get interest only, and the reason I would do that is because the difference between interest only and a repayment mortgage is you get the mortgage. Another word for mortgage is debt. It's a loan. However, it's good debt, assuming the house is good. Because if you buy a house for 100 grand and you borrow £75,000 to buy the house, and you're paying 3% interest on that £75,000, as long as the interest payments are way more than covered by the rent, and you're in good profit, then why are you going to try and pay off that mortgage as quickly as you can? To pay the mortgage off quickly, oh, I need to pay that 75 grand off. All that money that you would be paying to pay off the 75 grand, you should be using that money instead to put down more down payments on more houses, which means you're going to benefit off of the leverage when the houses go up, which means your cash flow is going to be better. Of course, when you get interest only, you want to make sure that you fix the interest rates. You want to make sure that you risk-proof everything so that there's enough cushion and profit in the deal. Your return on investment, it just depends on what deal you get. But if you're able to get 20% return on investment or more, then you're doing pretty well. So I hope that helps. And if you didn't understand any of that and you're thinking, my goodness, Samuel, what are you talking about? And you want to ask more questions on that, comment below, and maybe I can do a whole video about it next time and do my best to explain in more detail. But Thorburn. I know you always say it's an excuse to say I don't have the time, but I'm in the army and work long-ish hours away from home. Would you recommend pursuing property with only a day and a half free time? Yes, I do have leave, but can only be taken at specific times. But it depends how hungry you are. If you want to be a property investor, if you're like, I really want to do this, regardless of how busy you are, you can always find the time. I mean, I'm sure that most people scroll through Facebook. I know you scroll through Twitter because you saw this. So maybe instead of scrolling through Twitter and Facebook, you could scroll through Rightmove and find deals. You can literally do that while you're on the toilet. You know, you're on the toilet, just scroll through Rightmove, see what's come up that day in your area, in your patch. And then you see a couple houses, these look good. And then your 20-minute lunch break, pick up the phone, book a viewing. You might only have 1 day a month when you can view houses, but on that 1 day a month, view 10 houses. View 10 houses, offer on absolutely everything. Might be that all 10 of them say no. Might be that all 10 of the houses are no good. But if you consistently do that in the nooks and crannies of life, month on, month out, you're gonna get a deal. And the person that views the most houses, the person that makes the most phone calls is the person that's going to ultimately get the most deals or make the most money. But if you're in the army and you're absolutely chocker and you're sold out and you're doing what you're doing and it can wait, and you think, you know what, I'm going to be done with the army in 6 months, 12 months, and that's when I'm going to go hard on property, then fine, do that. There's no right or wrong. But if you really want it badly enough, I think you can always find the time. Ultimately, everybody has the same time. A billionaire businessman, the prime minister, they have the same amount of time as you and I have. So it's not about how much time you have, because we all have the same time. It's about how you use the time that you have. So I hope that helps, and good luck in your property journey. Joab Stewart says, that's 3 questions. Okay, good, I like it. If you could advise your 19-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be? It would be learn to sell. Everything is sales. I mean, when I started in property, I thought I need to know loads about property, and I need to learn, actually, property business is a people business. And when I say sell, I'm not talking about pushy, slimy car sales stuff. I'm talking about how to get people to do a deal with you. I think that would be the biggest thing that I would say. People skills, learning how to sell, learning how to communicate with people. Property business is a people business. What skills are essential to having today's property business? What skills? You need to be able to negotiate. You need to be able to calculate a return on investment, work out a good deal. You don't need to be great at maths, but you just need to figure out the formulas. And third skill, you didn't ask for 3 skills, but I'm going to give you 3 anyway. Third skill is being able to make a decision based on logic rather than feelings. So really being level-headed. So if you can do that, I think there's some good skills. And how do I make the most out of these answers and go about actually applying them and taking action? Go and view a house. Book a viewing, view a house, talk to the agent, tell them what you want. I mean, ultimately, you can think about it, you can read books about it, but if you don't actually leave the house, go out the house and go to a property networking event. Go out the house and come on one of my programs or someone else's training programs. Some of these programs are free, where you're meeting other people that are successful in property. And when you put yourself in the right environment, you know, people say, oh, you just got lucky. There's no such thing as luck. Luck happens when you put yourself in the right place at the right time. So you just got to put yourself in the right rooms. Leave the house. What would you recommend someone with an entrepreneurial spirit but not knowing what the next step to do? Jaden McCormack. What I would say is, firstly, congratulations, because if you've got the fire in your belly and the desire to want to do this, you're like 80% of the way there. Because I see so many people and they just haven't even got the motivation. There's people in my family, there's like people that have been childhood friends, and I'm like, I know everything about property. I know the steps for you to be able to become financially free. I've done it over and over. I've helped thousands of people do it. Look, just do this. But they haven't got the fire in their belly, and they don't even want it. They haven't got the desire. They're never going to be successful. So the fact that it burns and you have the desire, Jaden, is fantastic. What do you need to? What's the next step that you need to do? What I would say is, rather than thinking really big picture, you've got this entrepreneurial spirit. You probably want to be a multi-millionaire, or you want to be a billionaire. You want to have 100 houses. You want to. Okay. Well, what's the first deal that you want to do? You know, what's the very first deal? Where do you want to buy your first house? What does your first house look like? Okay, cool. And then I'll just set out to make that happen, like on a mission. I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen. Of course, you're going to need the education. You're going to need the support. You're going to need the network. But just focus on the first deal, because your first deal is always your hardest. Once you've done it once, you can then start scaling up and duplicating and doing it over and over. Big picture's good, but don't if you just stand looking at the mountain, oh my goodness, it can be a bit scary. But you've just got to take that first step. and get that first deal. So I hope that helps. Okay, we'll do one more question. This is Emmanuel Lewis. What's up, buddy? I hope you're well. How to handle objections when selling property deals to investors. Selling property deals to investors. If you're packaging deals and you're selling them to investors, how to handle objections? I wouldn't handle objections. When you're selling a deal to an investor, what you're trying to do is you're trying to work out if your deal, your investment, and the investor are a good fit. Now, you know everything about the deal, and they know everything about themselves. When you're speaking to an investor, what I do, if I'm trying to sell a deal, I ask them questions. So rather than saying, I got this great deal, the deal's so good, it's got 5 bedrooms, I've managed to negotiate it below market value, it's this, isn't it great? What do you think? Are you interested? And then they're like, well, what about this? And what about this? Tell me a bit more about this. And then they start controlling the conversation by asking you questions, and then you're answering all these questions. You'll be on the phone to them for an hour and a half. They'll be picking your brain just to say, I'll go away and think about it. That's what most people that package deals to investors, that's normally what happens. Instead, you want to flip it around. So you want to say, hey, I've got this great investment property. However, before I tell you about it, would it be okay if I ask you some questions to see if it's a good fit? Okay, awesome, thank you. So firstly, if the deal's right, are you in a position where you can move straight away? Like some of these investors that spend 2.5 hours with you on the phone asking you all these frigging questions, they're broke. They don't have any money. So first thing is, if the deal's right, are you in a position to move right away? Oh, well, potentially. Potentially? If the deal's right, okay, would you move? Would you be able to secure it today? Well, I've just got a few funds going on and, I'm just in conversations with my broker. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Give me a call back when you have your funds in place and when you've got your mortgage broker and you're able to get the finance. Give me a call back. Thank you. You've just saved yourself 2.5 hours. That's how you got to do it. Once they say yes, if the deal's right, yes, I absolutely would. Awesome, thank you. So what would make a good deal for you? Oh, well, it need to be this. All right, cool. So let me tell you a little bit about the property. Boom. How does that sound? And you're just taking control of the conversation and then ultimately just asking them, all right, awesome. So this is the deal. This is the property. Seems to fit what you're looking for. You said if it was the right deal, you'd want to go ahead. What else do you need to know from me? And sometimes getting all their questions up front as well. If they ask one question and you answer, then they'll ask another question and another question and another question. So sometimes you can just say, listen, what do you need to know from me? And they'll say, oh, I need to know the condition and how much the refurb is going to cost. Okay, what else? Oh, I also need to know, the quote for the refurb, is that guaranteed? Okay, what else? All the questions up front? Great. So if I can answer all these questions and give you everything you need, are you in a position to be able to make a decision today? You're just taking control of the conversation. For me, this just comes with experience because when I started deal sourcing, year 2016, I sold 256 deals. 256 deals I personally sold in the year of 2016. So I've spoke to a lot of time wasters and that's kind of how I've learned these skills. So it's a great question, Emmanuel. I hope that was helpful a little bit. The crash course, you see me doing this kind of stuff on stage. You'll see me on the phone, talking to agents, talking to investors. It will become second nature for you. Because as you see me do it, as you start practicing doing it, you'll get better at this. It will become easier to find deals, to sell deals. Samuel Stanley, I'm going to answer your name just because your name's Samuel. He says, I'm 16, can I do deals? Yes, Samuel, you can do deals at 16. Listen, there's a lot of people, like some of these questions saying like, I haven't got much time, what would you suggest I do? Rather than telling me what's wrong, tell me what's right. Rather than, oh, this is my problem, or oh, I'm only this age, or I've got this, what have you got going for you? You don't even have to tell me you're 16. Hey, I'm super motivated, I've got nothing to lose, I got all the time in the world, and I'm ready to view as many houses as possible. What advice would you give for me? Is a better question than, I'm 16. I don't care that you're 16, dude. Maybe you're 16 so you can't get a mortgage, but instead of, I can't, it's how can I? I bought my first house at 17 years old, and I just got a family member to be a guarantor for me, put it in their name. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up. If you enjoyed that, please do smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, but you watch my videos, then shame on you. No, I'm only kidding. Do subscribe though. Subscribe, smash the like button. Also, if you've got questions and you'd like me to answer your personal questions, comment them below. I look forward to reading through it. I'll read as many as I can, I'll answer as many as I can, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.